In today's video, I'm going to talk about the two things that we need to do after we install Server 2019 with VirtualBox. These two things are the very first thing that I do anytime I install a new virtual machine. And I keep great documentation of this so that way I can refer back to it anytime I need it. So let's talk about these two things right now.
So with your Server 2019 virtual machine pulled up, we are going to go ahead and right click on the Start menu and go to System. And once this loads up, we are going to take a look at the device name. Now, this is going to be completely different for you every single time you install a server. It's going to have some crazy device name attached to it. We want to rename that so it makes it a little bit easier for us to manage within our environment. So we're just going to scroll down and click on Rename This PC. And we are going to name this whatever we want. Now, this is important to note that you keep documentation of this so that you know what this server is, you know, what the purpose of the server is, what it's going to be doing, and what the name of that server is going to be. Now, with DNS and IP configurations and things like that, we're going to be able to utilize both the computer name and the IP address in many ways exactly the same. So what we want to do now is think of a naming scheme that is going to best suit our environment. Now, this can be different based on, you know, each specific environment that you are working in, or we could just simply make something up. In our case, we are going to be going with a World of Warcraft theme because it's easy. It's something that I enjoy personally, and it's just going to be fun. So this server is going to act as our WDS server. So we are going to name this something that is basically of high ranking to me. So I know that by looking at the name of it, it will make sense as a server that is doing something important, right? So I'm going to name this server Eastern Kingdoms. Now, this is a continent within World of Warcraft, so I know that there's something of importance there, right? Because it's a very big structure within that gaming environment. Now, it's also a very big structure within our virtual environment that we are creating here. So Eastern Kingdoms is going to be the name of the server. We're just going to go ahead and click on Next. It's going to ask us to reboot. We're not going to reboot right now, so we're going to go ahead and do restart later. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is set a static IP address, because what we want to do here with the static IP address is make sure that every time this computer restarts, it's always assigned the same IP address. This will help avoid any errors down the line. It will basically help alleviate a lot of issues that could happen from, you know, DHCP being enabled. So many times you'll find within an environment, if you don't set a static IP address, we use something called DHCP, which assigns IP addresses automatically by that server, by our DHCP server. We'll talk about that in the future. And every time you can restart it, you could be assigned a new IP address. Or if you come back the next day and you turn your computer on, you can be assigned a new IP address from the previous day. With servers, we want to make sure that our IP addresses stay the same all the time. So we're going to go ahead and right click down on our network adapter here. Do open network and internet settings. So there's many different ways that you can get to the screen. This is just the easiest for me. We're going to go ahead and click on change adapter options. And once we find our Ethernet right here, we're going to go ahead and right click and do properties. And we are going to go to Internet Protocol version 4, and then we're going to do properties again. So once this is pulled up, this is exactly what you should see. What we're going to do next is go ahead and right click on the Start menu and click on Run and type in CMD and click Enter. So as our command window is opened up, we're going to type in ipconfig /all. This is going to give us information about our Ethernet settings. It's going to give us our current IP address. It's going to give us our subnet, our default gateway. You're also going to see a MAC address splashed in there as well. What we want to do is take special note of the IP address, the subnet, and the default gateway. Because what we're going to do, if we go ahead and just move this out of the way, go back to our Ethernet properties here, we are going to set the IP address and the subnet mask and the default gateway and the DNS server based on the information that we have here. So we can go with this IP address that it's currently using, which is 10.0.2.22, or if in our environment we have a very specific set of IP addresses that we have to use, we're going to set one of those IP addresses here for the server. But for the sake of this video, the 10.0.2.22 That sounds like a perfectly fine IP address that we can use within our environment. So we're going to go ahead and set that as our static IP address. And our subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Our default gateway is 10.0.2.2. And then for our DNS server, this is going to be right here, DNS server 127.0.0.1. We're just going to use that for now. Now, I say for now because we're going to be changing some things and we may need to change that to help our virtual machines connect to one another. So for the purpose of this video right now, we are going to go ahead and click on OK. Then we're going to click on close. So now every time the server restarts, it will have that same IP address. So what we're going to do is go ahead and restart the server because we have to do that for the naming convention to take place. So let's do that now. All right, so now that our server is back up and running, we're going to go ahead and right click on the start menu, click on run, type in CMD, hit enter, and we're going to type in again ipconfig /all. We should see that our host name right here, host name, should say Eastern Kingdoms. That's what we named the server. Now we should also see that our IP configuration is exactly what we set it at. Our IP address is 10.0.2.22. Subnet mask, default gateway, and DNS server is all correct. That's what we had set it in the previous portion of this video. So these are the two things that I always do as soon as I log into a server. We're going to talk about setting up some other things in future videos, but for the purpose of this video series, the next thing that we're going to be doing is setting up our domain controller, and we will be actually connecting these two computers together so that they're on the same domain. So stay tuned for that video, but this is this video for Curious IT. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. As always, take it easy.
That was it for today's video. Hope you guys appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, throw them in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, take it easy.